Welcome to A Moment of Zen. Time to sit back and relax as model, actress, mentor, and supermom Zen Sams takes you on a sexy and wild ride, covering the latest in film, fashion, pop culture, cryptocurrency, fintech, cannabis, and entertainment from the millennial mom's perspective. Here's your host, Zen Sams.
Hello, my beautiful tri-state area. Welcome to our 179th episode. It's always such a pleasure to spend my time with you on the airwaves. Thank you for listening and interacting with me Saturday nights and tuning in on my social media. That truly makes it all worthwhile. Please make sure to continue to follow us at Zen Sams. That's Zen with an X, not a Z. And remember that all our episodes of A Moment of Zen stream 24/7 on your home TV, Kathy Ireland Worldwide. And of course, you can always find us on our YouTube channel at Zen Sams. In the Hydration with Heart segment brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut, today we're featuring Supermama, former news anchor and reporter, and now influencer with nearly 2 million social media followers, Kayla Sullivan. She's perfected the art of reporting on the daily chaos that every parent knows all too well. Today we're diving into how she balances career, kids, and the occasional meltdown. In the Discover Your Potential segment brought to you by Keep the Past, we're joined by our regular contributor, Anna Devere, and today she's joined by journalist and advocate Mitzi Perdue. She's the founder of MentalHelp.Global. They joined me today to chat all about her efforts in improving the mental health crisis from Ukraine all the way here to home in America, spreading awareness and the importance of giving back. In the Going Deep segment brought to you by CO2 Lift, we're headed all the way to Music City Scale 2024, and we're chatting with one of our favorite skincare experts. We're featuring cosmetic facial surgeon Dr. Joe Niamtu, and we'll share his thoughts on the latest skincare trends and technologies of CO2 lift and skin rejuvenation. In the entertainment and pop culture segment brought to you by Romulus Entertainment, we take you behind the scenes on the set of the soon-to-be-out movie starring Al Pacino called Killing Castro. We're chatting with actor Ron Livingston. You may know him from The Office Space or Band of Brothers. That's just to name a few. But today, he'll be chatting about his new role as Agent Collins in Killing Castro and what attracted him to the role. Stay tuned for actor Ron Livingston coming up next in the entertainment and pop culture segment brought to you by Romulus Entertainment. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV.
Hi, this is Kathy Ireland here on A Moment of Zen, brought to you by Your Home TV. We've developed an all-inclusive subscription-free network that you're going to love, whether it's financial freedom, fashion, beauty, health and wellness, wonderful weddings, travel and culture, cooking, entertainment, and short-form documentaries, programming for everyone. Classic films and new shows, including Kathy Ireland Presents American Dreams. We've developed this network just for you. Please check out yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. A Moment of Zen is sponsored by FinTech TV.
FinTech TV, the newest streaming channel focused exclusively on the business of blockchain, digital assets, and sustainability. Broadcasting from our studio on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with daily reports from NASDAQ, global expansion, and 24/7 coverage. Become part of the launch. Head to fintech.tv/invest. Fintech.tv/invest.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, my beautiful friends. This is Zen Sams on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We're here on the film set of Killing Castro with the amazing Ron Livingston. He's going to chat with me and tell me exactly what attracted him to this particular role, what he feels about this movie and this script, and the latest that he's been up to since the strike, of course, because now we're all back at work. Ron, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So tell me about your initial thoughts when you first read the script, Killing Castro.
Well, the story is based on this period in 1960 when Malcolm X and Fidel Castro were at the same hotel up in Harlem. So my first thought was like, wait, that didn't really happen, right? And they're like, no, that part's true. I don't know how much the rest of it is, but it makes kind of for a great setting, both in time and place. I think it's that's kind of a microcosm a little bit for America in 1960, headed into the 60s. But the pieces are already in motion. And so it feels like it's a great origin story for like what was going to go down in the 60s.
It definitely tells an important piece of history. And when you look at the dynamic between the US government and Cuba at the time, you could definitely find a lot of parallels with whatever's happening currently in the world. And this is quite the interesting story that really has been untold, and no one really knew what happened in that time period when Fidel Castro met Malcolm X for the very first time. But I definitely can't wait to see your performance in this. Now let's talk about you and your career, your performance. So this is very different than your typical, the typical roles that you've taken on in the last decade.
Mm-hmm.
You know, you came off of a couple of projects that were very interesting. It was Featherweight,
yeah,
and The Strike, right? There was that one too. And you are trained very classically here, Harvard. Yale.
Yes.
You're Yale.
Yes.
There's other people here on Harvard, but Yale, and you did go to school with Paul Giamatti and Edward Norton.
I did.
Is that correct? So tell me about that experience. All three of you extremely successful actors.
It was great. It was the theater scene. I think when I was there in school was very much it was do it yourself. It wasn't a conservatory program where it was all kind of laid out. So I thought it was actually really good prep for the way it works in Los Angeles, where it's kind of like, hey, I'm doing this thing. Are you available to do this thing that I'm doing? And it's like, yeah, okay. It's, everyone was kind of working together on stuff.
It was very interesting, the transition that you all went through as career paths, but bringing you full circle to this film set. So you're from LA, and you're from the West Coast, and we're in a very frigid, cold New York City, New Jersey area, in the tri-state area.
Well, I grew up in Eastern Iowa, so I grew up in the cold, but I've gotten soft. I've been in LA for about 30 years, so I love it. I love getting back. I love getting back to the weather. There's something that's kind of magical about New York. Yeah, it's kind of always nice to float through.
All right. After this project, can we expect to see you in any other upcoming films?
I certainly hope so.
Are you working on anything?
No, not yet. We're just getting geared up now, being back from the strike. So I'm looking forward to see what next year holds.
She's one of the only actors now, employed literally the week right after the strike. I mean, everything came back to into effect full force, and you're living proof that the industry will always sustain itself, and Hollywood is always going to be in demand. And this is one of those projects that I can't wait to see what director Ep Rivera is going to do with this. This may get nominated for an Academy Award, and my bets are that it will.
Well, I hope so.
Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Ron. It was a pleasure chatting with you. Can't wait to see your performance. Wishing you all the best.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We're here on the film set of Killing Castro. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
The Kelly Williams Show is brought to you by Serendipity Yacht Cruises and Events. Tune in and turn on your happy. Kelly Williams is full of energy and incredible guests. Watch her anytime, free programming on Your Home TV network, and do follow her on social media for a chance to win monthly prizes. Check out The Kelly Williams Show on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Coming up in the Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. Today we're featuring supermama, news anchor, and reporter, and of course, influencer, Kayla Sullivan. Get ready to grab your juice boxes and settle in, my friends, because today we have the queen of breaking news straight from the front lines of parenthood. Kayla's going to be joining us. She has nearly 2 million social media followers, and she's perfected the art of reporting on the daily chaos that every parent knows all too well. From sippy cup mysteries to bedtime negotiations that would make the UN jealous, she's turned the wild world of motherhood into the funniest news you've ever seen. Today, we're diving into how she balances career, kids, and the occasional meltdown, hers or the kids. We'll let her clarify. Kayla, welcome to the show, superstar.
Thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
All right, now before we dive in and go any further, listeners, I'm going to play you a little soundbite of her online content. Have a listen.
Kayla Sullivan reporting live from outside my son's bedroom where he's currently being detained until nap time is over. Now, this story does involve a minor, so I can't release specifics, but what I can confirm is my son is a 2-year-old terrorist who held me hostage at the Olive Garden earlier today. It's important to note the friends I met there do not have children and likely never will after witnessing this situation firsthand. This is an active investigation, but authorities believe the proper precautions were taken. I brought my son's favorite snacks and even risked judgment from other moms by bringing an iPad. But not even Cocomelon could have stopped this meltdown. After several cries demanding, quote, "Ketchup, ketchup!" a Good Samaritan waitress miraculously understood it as the English word ketchup and brought him a bottle. Unfortunately, her good deed was later punished after he threw a ketchup-covered fork at her. Not all heroes wear capes, but this one should have worn an apron. You know, these toddler outbursts are becoming increasingly common as more and more parents try out the new craze, gentle parenting, and completely suck at it. I'll keep trying. Back to you.
All right, let's dive right in. Hilarious and super talented. Oh my goodness, you have all the checkbox checked. Kayla, you have made quite the leap from TV news anchor to social media star with nearly 2 million followers. That's how I found you. What was the moment that made you decide, hey, you know what? TikTok is where I belong. I mean, is it more fun reporting on the daily chaos of parenthood than the evening news? Tell me.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a saying, no one loves to be the bearer of bad news. So I went from doom and gloom to making people laugh, and that has meant the world to me. I'm still using the same skills that I had as a news reporter, but instead of going to different sources in the community and talking about really serious topics, I'm talking about everyday life, and the source is me. A lot of my content comes from me living life and things that my kids are going through or that I'm going through mainly as a parent and the daily struggles. But I've wanted to be a news reporter my entire life. I mean, in the 4th grade, I was doing the school announcements and reporting on what we were having for lunch that day in my news voice. And so I've always had that little news voice and I loved being on camera. So it was really a dream come true to become a TV news reporter, and I loved it. I loved the feeling of going live, and it was awesome during that time in my life, but once I became a mom, it got all too real. The stories were tough, so I love doing the best of both worlds now.
I love this story. You're a comedian, you're a mom, you're a career girl. I mean, you're doing it all. Now, before we dive just a little bit deeper, I want to rewind a bit to something you just said when you were in the 4th grade. What inspired you to become a news anchor? I mean, it's been a childhood dream, like you said, but did you stumble into it? I mean, how did this all unfold?
I was the oddball that knew what she wanted to do from a really young age, and then my whole life surrounded it. And it's funny because there are photos and videos of me in blazers, like interviewing people and doing the news in my basement. And so this was something that I always dreamt of doing, and I made it happen. You know, even in college, I brought a TV camera to a party to get B-roll, which is video for a story, of college students drinking because I needed it because there was a lifeline law that gave immunity to college students. and my friends were like, "You're so weird, like calm down, just enjoy life." But I loved it. And so it's funny that I never really stopped doing it, even in a way that's entertainment. And so I think that this is so much more enjoyable, what I'm doing now. I will always respect the news, but things change when you become a mom. And I'm so fortunate that I was able to still do what I love, but I found something that works for me and my schedule and that work-life balance.
That's great. Now, you've really nailed that perfect blend of humor and reality into your skits, let me tell you. And parents everywhere are nodding along and thinking, yep, that's my life. How do you keep your content so relatable and fresh? I mean, do the kids ever give you material, quote unquote, to work with that you weren't even expecting?
Everything I report on or make a skit on is inspired by a true story. You know, that disclaimer at the beginning of those movies, like this was inspired. I should have that disclaimer on everything because it's all real. And I think that's why it resonates so well with people on social media, because I think a lot of kids do my kids aren't any different than any normal kid. And I also really look for things that I think other people are going through, because I think that that's the service that I'm providing is relatability. And if it's funny, if I can kind of find something that I feel like every parent experiences, that's the stuff that I look for.
Now, you've recently gotten married and become a stepmom. Congratulations.
Thank you.
That must have added a new layer to your content or even to your personal life. I'm sure there's no shortage of blended family moments that could go viral. So I'm sure you're getting content on that end too. Now, let's talk about balancing career and motherhood. So, you know, Kayla, Jessica Turner from the Mom Creative, I always follow her. I don't know if you know who Jessica Turner is, but she's from the Mom Creative. She talked about the importance of carving out time for both your career and your family without feeling guilty about either. And it's about finding that harmony, not balance, she said. And it's interesting because you're connecting with millions of parents online, especially working moms. I'm one of them. What do you think it is about your content that resonates so deeply with us? Is it the shared struggles, the laughs, or maybe a little of both? And before you answer that, how important has authenticity been in building your career both on and off social media?
It's funny because as a TV news reporter, what was most important to me was the truth and honesty. So authenticity is everything on social media as well, because I'm reporting the truth of parenting. I'm reporting the ugly truth, if you will, but in a lighthearted way. And I think that that's why people like it, because I'm not sugarcoating things. I'm telling you how it is. And I'm not complaining, and I'm not condoning bad behavior as a parent. I'm very self-deprecating, but the message is always, I'm still trying. I'm still trying to be better. I might have failed. I might have forgotten my son's lunchbox today, but we're going to keep trying, and tomorrow's going to be a better day. And that balance of, work and life and making sure that you are okay with asking for help. I really hope that people know that it is a village that raises children. And I think a lot of the time, when I started doing this, I was a single mom, and I found community in my following, and it was an outlet for me to feel less alone in parenting because I didn't have a partner in parenting. And so I think that it's so nice that social media has provided that ability for people to be watching and saying, oh my gosh, me too. Oh, I feel that exact same way. So I think that's why my content has been successful, because I've been so honest and I haven't tried to gloss over the difficulty. But at the same time, the message isn't, this is difficult, I want to give up. The message is, this is difficult, I still love it. Here are some ways that, I can cope. And I love the comment section. There's always good tips. I'll talk about a struggling issue, like, for instance, my son not wanting to wear pants. He's obsessed with wearing shorts, but it's cold outside. So moms will comment. What I do is I'll lay out 3 different pairs of pants, and then he gets to choose so he feels more in control or whatever. And then I try those things and it actually helps me be a better mom. But if I wouldn't have shared that struggle, then I would have never gotten that advice. So I think it's a really good way for other parents, even in the comment section, to learn how to be a better parent and how to get out of some of these sticky situations that I report on.
Yeah, your content definitely has that genuine down-to-earth vibe that so many people connect with. It reminds me, again, I go through all these mom blogs. It reminds me of what Jill Smokler from Scary Mommy always says: authenticity is key, and people appreciate real-life struggles and victories more than any polished version of reality, right? So I think you've nailed it. Now, we talked about balancing career and parenting, and now being a stepmom sounds like a full plate. What's your best advice for working moms trying to keep all those plates spinning without losing their minds?
I touched on this a little bit earlier, but being okay, accepting and seeking help. I know that help may not always be readily available, but at least trying to seek it. We can't do this on our own. I feel like keeping humor in your life is always really helpful for me. Just kind of laughing at myself and being like, okay, like, you got this, it happens, every mom goes through this. Try not to compare yourself to other moms. There's no such thing as a perfect mom. And really, I know this comes from a place of privilege and I'm very grateful for it, but trying to find a job that works for you and your family. I know that not everyone might be able to do that, but just seeking that out, trying to talk to different people about, hey, are there any jobs that offer maybe working from home? Or are there any jobs that I can get off at 3 so I can be there to pick up my son, or whatever works for you. If you don't have that help, finding an employer that does actually support working moms. They exist, they're rare. I hope that the industry changes more so that they're more supportive of working moms, but finding people who will trust that you get the job done, but let you leave for that doctor's appointment for your kid. And I think that that's really important. So just seeking those jobs, finding something that works for you and your family, and asking for help, I think is really important. But the humor aspect is what works best for me. Without humor, I think I'd lose my mind.
For sure. A great laugh is always a great remedy. Now, here's a fun one. If you could do a special news report on any overlooked aspect of parenting, what would it be? I mean, something that doesn't get enough airtime but totally deserves it.
I do think blended families would provide some really good content. I wish there was more blended family content out there, but I don't usually let parenthood topics go overlooked. If it's going on in my life, I report on it. And I can tell you what I'm working on right now, something that I realized, and I'll be probably posting a report on soon, is the fact that for some reason, ever since I became a mom, I've started talking in third person. Like, I'll be like, mommy needs to go potty before we leave for the park. Mommy needs a break. Mommy needs a coffee. And I don't know why I do that. I don't do it in any other aspect of life.
That's
and
true.
So sometimes I realize these things about myself and I'm like, that is funny. So I can turn it into a report. Authorities are working into why I'm doing this and why other parents are doing this. I even say, like, mommy and daddy need to talk about that. Why can't I just say we're going to talk about it? It's so weird. I don't know why I do it, but I think
do it
other
too.
moms do it. I know. Why do we do that?
I do it too, and I have a blended family. I have an 8.5-year-old, a 22-year-old who just graduated University of Georgia, who's now in the talent program at CAA to be a talent agent, and my stepson is at University of Syracuse. He's 19, so I got lots of stories to tell you, but that's a different podcast. Now, looking ahead, where do you see your content going in the next few years? I mean, are there any new projects or directions you're excited to explore? Maybe something outside of TikTok and Instagram? I mean, do you see yourself diving even deeper into the world of social media or pulling back into the world of news anchoring?
I see myself expanding on social media. I'd really like to get into YouTube. I haven't really done anything on YouTube or like longer form content. I think that would be really fun to make entire newscasts because I have so many of these short newscasts. So making a longer form newscast on YouTube is really a good idea, and I think that I'm gonna pursue that. I also think that I would love to start a podcast. There's just a lot of different things that I can do, trying to further that humor in parenting and just trying to build that community with other moms and dads, because dads are a part of this too. I do really want to support working moms, but I think parents in general just enjoy to look back on these moments in life. I love my content because it kind of serves as a baby book for my son. Because when I look back, I started doing this when he was 2. He's 5 now. So I can look back and be like, oh, I forgot all about the time that he used to take off his shoes and throw them in the car all the time, but I reported on it. So I remember when he did that. And other parents, I think, will watch my news reports and be like, I remember when my 2-year-old used to do that. I kind of miss it. I hated it then, but I miss it now. So I think it's really a fun way to document his childhood. So I want to continue doing that with the, thought in mind that this could eventually get embarrassing for him. So maybe I'll stop focusing it so much on my son in particular if it does get embarrassing, but maybe I'm talking to other parents about their experiences, or I'm just kind of talking about parenting in general and not calling out one child or another. But I think it's relatable. I think it's important regardless. And there's a lot of room to continue doing what I'm doing.
Wow. Well, you definitely have your work cut out for you. You are headed for much, much bigger things than just TikTok and YouTube, without a doubt. And I've enjoyed talking to you. You are so funny. Thank you so much for coming on. I hope you're going to come back again.
Absolutely. I'd love to. Thanks for having me.
That was our Hydration with Heart segment, brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut. That was the amazing Kayla Sullivan. You can check her out all over social media. On TikTok, she's at the handle Kayla Reporting. And on Instagram, you can find her at Kayla Marie Sully. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Once Upon a Coconut.
Discover the refreshing taste of 100% pure coconut water that actually tastes great. Naturally sweet with no artificial flavors or added sugar. It's packed with electrolytes to keep you hydrated throughout your day. And with 10% of profits going to charity, every sip makes a difference. Pure taste, pure goodness. Experience nature's Gatorade. Visit Once Upon a Coconut or naturesgatorade.com.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Do you have the dream of starting and owning your own business, or know of someone who does? If so, check out Your Home Business program, where they inspire, equip, and encourage those who dream of owning and operating their own business. Check out Your Home Business on yourhometv.com.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. I'm your host, Zen Sams. Up next in the Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Keep the Past. Today, we're joined by our regular contributor and co-host, Anna Devere, and she is joined by journalist and advocate Mitzi Perdue. Mitzi is a tremendous force with a long list of accomplishments, some of which include being a former rice grower, the past president of the 35,000-member American Agri-Women, and a former syndicated columnist for both Scripps Howard and her column, The Environment and You, which was the most widely syndicated environmental column in the country in the 1990s. As a war correspondent in Ukraine, she's visited 3 times since the full-scale invasion and has had more than over 100 articles published in outlets such as the Wall Street Journal, USA Today, and Newsweek, with many of the interviews for her articles being conducted in actual bomb shelters in cities under active attack. They're going to join me today to chat all about Mitzi's efforts in improving the mental health crisis, spreading awareness, and the importance of giving back. Welcoming now to the show are my friends Anna Devere and Mitzi Perdue. Welcome, superstars.
Yay. Thank you, Zen.
Mitzi, thank you so much for joining us.
What a joy to be with you. I love your show and I love the premise of the show.
All right, let's dive right in. So let's start off with what you're currently working on and why. I understand that the program you created, MentalHelp.Global, was started in an effort to address the problem outlined by the World Health Organization, namely that more than 1 billion people are living with a debilitating mental illness. In fact, the prevalence of all mental disorders worldwide increased by 50% between the 1990s and 2013. So it's clear a focus on improving mental health is exceedingly important, as it's an issue that is certainly not going away. Please tell us more about your program and what it is doing to help.
Okay, I got into it because while in Ukraine, I kept interviewing people, particularly war crimes victims, who were suffering from like panic attacks or depression or disassociation. And, I'd ask others, are they going to get help? And the answer was no, not a chance. There's as many as 15 million people in Ukraine right now who have mental health issues. How do you address that? Oh, since there aren't enough mental health professionals in the world to take care of them. And so I my background actually is computer science. And I wrote my master's thesis on computers. And I began wondering, might it be possible to use an equivalent of ChatGPT to provide emergency first aid? And that's what I'm up to.
Wow.
Wow.
This this sounds like an incredible program because with such a large population, to your point, struggling with their mental health, according to the World Health Organization, even before COVID-19 pandemic, which of course brought about its own slew of issues, just a fraction of those in need of mental health care had access to quality, affordable, and actually effective treatment. So you're onto something now. I know Anna has some questions, so I'll let her take it away.
Yeah, and I think, Mitzi, you've already kind of raised this, but you've traveled to Ukraine 3 times in the past few years. A great risk to yourself, I have to add. But why did you decide to do a pilot of your program there in particular?
I did it because I have contacts in Ukraine right now, who are the ones who. I have particular contacts with the police because it's the police who investigate war crimes,
Mhm.
and they're the ones who introduced me to people who want to talk about what the Russians did to them. But
Mhm.
I would say in pretty much every case of anybody I've interviewed, they have issues like insomnia, panic attacks, depression, just endless. And so it seemed to me if I'm going to work on this, maybe work where I already have a network of people who want to help, including academics at the University of Ukraine. And
Hmm.
right now we've very likely raised money to hire somebody full time at the University of Ukraine or Ukraine University to help operationalize this. So that's why
Wow.
we're starting there, but the goal is for it to be global.
Hmm. Excellent.
Phenomenal. Now, I know you, after your second trip there, you decided to auction off your historic emerald engagement ring to benefit Ukraine, which part of the 1.2 million proceeds going to a women's shelter and another part going to landmine clearance efforts. Mitzi, it's abundantly clear that you've dedicated your life and efforts to giving back with major altruistic acts. What drives your passion for humanitarian service?
Oh, that's so easy to answer. I got influenced by Mother Teresa.
Mm.
And a quick story, but Napoleon Bonaparte and Mother Teresa both had biographies, and I read biographies of both the same week. Napoleon had all the money, glory, power, status, sex that the world has to offer. Mother Teresa, with her vow of poverty and chastity, had none of that. And yet, at the end of their lives, Napoleon said, I can't count 5 happy days in my life, even with all those goodies that the world offers. Mother Teresa, on the other hand, who her only property was 3 saris and the shoes on her feet, the sandals on her feet, she describes her life as a feast of unending joy. So, which is better, to have a feast of unending joy or to not have 5 happy days in your whole life? So it seems to me that philanthropy is selfishly kind of a road to happiness. And you
Mhm.
mentioned my ring. I feel so happy that I did that. It gave me more joy to give it away than it did to own it.
You are gorgeous.
I would say the same thing. But Mitzi, as a war correspondent, you've dealt firsthand with some pretty extreme conditions and circumstances. I just wonder how you maintain your own mental health, and how you could advise other people who may feel really overwhelmed by what's happening in the world today.
All right, I have a premise that I follow and I recommend to everybody. Your responsibility is, and I'm being metaphorical when I say this, but your responsibility is to live to fight another day. And
Mm.
what does that translate into real life? It means you can't just immerse yourself 24/7 in the pain and horrors that are going on in the world, or you'll go nuts. So I make it an absolute requirement to have at least an hour a day of something that's uplifting. And it's so, what I do is so small and trivial, but I'll share it with you.
Sure.
On YouTube, there are all these wonderful videos of like people rescuing animals, or there's beautiful parts of life. And so anybody who's in danger of burnout, it's medically a necessity to give yourself respite. You have to live to fight another day, and you can't, you just can't give in to a full diet of the unbearable.
That's great advice. Now, you're leading quite the charge and using social media as a vehicle for advocacy and change. And with over 5 billion social media users around the world, this is definitely an important tool to utilize to get your voice and cause out there. Now, with the online world only continuing to grow and the rise of various pieces of cutting edge technology, how has the use of artificial intelligence and similar tools helped you move the needle in your cause?
Okay, it's going to be fantastic, because allow me to give a couple of statistics. In 1939, the computer power was such that you could make one calculation every 40 hours. Today, with NVIDIA, you can give 500 billion calculations every second. Every second. That means that we're able to, with ChatGPT and with artificial intelligence, we're able to give people almost in real time, in any language, advice on mental health. And we can't make the mental health problems go away, but we already know that we can be like emergency first aid. We can help people deal with what they're up against.
That's fantastic. I sense that we're going to have a chat about that in a longer form, Mitzi, because I always like to highlight the upside of AI. I want to talk a little bit about the art of influence. One of the articles I read that you talked about the difference between how ideas are introduced into the world. And since you're such an idea person, can you just talk briefly about the art of spreading ideas in a way that they're adopted instead of opposed?
Okay, we have in any organization that I've ever been part of, starting with American Agri-Women, which is right now it's 40,000 women.
Wow.
We have an approach which is an idea imposed is an idea opposed. So in anything where I'm trying to persuade somebody of something, I don't want to say, hey, you have to do it. I would much rather, almost with salesmanship, paint a picture of why it's a good idea. And, if you like it, please join me. It's that approach, I think, has taken me a long way.
That's very humble.
It is very humble.
Now, looking to the future, how do you foresee the MentalHelp.Global program being implemented in other countries, including our own?
All right, I'm just so excited about this, but at the United Nations, there's a group of 20 ambassadors who like this idea, and they tell me that they're going to have a UN resolution about it in October. Woohoo! And
Wow.
it's so good for the United Nations because, and I even know the president of the General Assembly, and the reason that it's got the United Nations written all over it, as far as I'm concerned, is because with the latest technologies of language translation, the advice that we give, or not that I give, but that the ChatGPT equivalent will give, it can be in any language. And it's so scalable. It doesn't cost a very great deal. And with the United Nations, I mean, the United Nations can always use some really good publicity. And this is something that nobody's against. I mean, nobody's against mental health. And it's good for both the global South, for European, just for everywhere. It's good, and it doesn't make any enemies. And I'm actually going way out of my way to have it not be focused on Ukraine. Ukraine's the pilot, but for then on, global.
Wow. I love that. And I want to know, how can anybody who wants to make a difference to programs like yours, where do they start? How do they get connected with you, Mitzi?
I would like more than anything in the world to connect with people, because this is something that we can all do together, and we can make it bigger and better and faster. Contact me. The best way to contact me is MitziPerdue.com, and there's a contact area. And when you go to MitziPerdue.com, you'll also get links to the program that we've been describing, and it's called MentalHelp.Global. And I want to pronounce it really carefully, because you want to think mental health, but no, this is MentalHelp.Global. So please, yeah, if you write to me, I will write back to you, and I will welcome you as somebody who wants to be part of something that you're going to feel really good about when you join.
Amazing. Thank you.
Your philanthropy is matched to none I've ever seen or heard before. Your spirit and your energy is so infectious that I am so eager to check out MitziPerdue.com and go to the contact page on my own.
You know what? I promise you'll see articles that are astounding, that cover so many different topics. I did a deep dive in preparation for this interview, and I'm going to continue to learn more about you. Thank you, Mitzi, for taking us on your very adventurous and profound and meaningful journey. I just thank you for doing that.
Well, my joy to be part of this. Thank you.
Thank you, Mitzi. That was the Discover Your Potential segment, brought to you by Keep the Past. And that was the incredible Mitzi Perdue, journalist, advocate, and creator of MentalHelp.Global. Definitely be sure to check her out online at MitziPerdue.com to learn more about her efforts. And of course, you can see more of Anna at DiscoverYourPotentialShow.com. You're listening to A Moment of Zen right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. We'll be right back after this.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by Your Home TV with Kathy Ireland and their channel partners. Head to yourhometv.com for free, family-friendly programming, streaming 24/7.
Are you looking to build a new home? Think about building a barn-dominium. There's just something about getting away from it all. Country living, fresh air, and outdoor entertainment. Watch luxury barn-dominium tours on Your Home TV and let Stacy Lynn, the barn-dominium lady, take you on a journey through her barn-dominium designs.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen, Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
Welcome back, beautiful tri-state area. This is Zen Sam's, your favorite iHeartRadio host for 710 WOR, the voice of New York, iHeartRadio. And today, I'm all the way in Nashville, Tennessee, covering Scale Music City 2024. And I'm chatting with Dr. Joe Niamtu from Richmond, Virginia. And he's a board-certified facial cosmetic plastic surgeon. I'm going to be chatting about what the latest trends are this Scale 2024 that he has noticed, and we're about to pick his brain. Here we go. Are you ready?
Zen, you're not only beautiful, you got a cool name, okay? So I'm so happy to be at this meeting again. This is probably my 5th or 6th time. And the amazing thing about this meeting is the multi-specialty aspect. There are doctors here from just about any specialty that you can imagine that does something cosmetic.
And what the fun part of this entire conference is the 19th year, Dr. Gold and Dr. Weisman, the original founders, and it's a brilliant meeting of the minds. I have to say, it's nothing like I've ever seen. I'm getting not only to talk to the coolest people, but feeding directly into what we do right here at WOR, which is Expert on the Microphone series. So I have some questions for you.
Lay it on me.
Your specialty is everything cosmetic, facial, beautifying women and men, perhaps. But my question to you is, in Q3 of 2023, there was a top 3 Google search, and it was carboxytherapy. Now, it's not that it's something that just came about. I mean, it's been around since the 1930s, but to my understanding, the method of delivery has changed since then, and now it's applied cutaneously 45 minutes over this gel-like format. But I would like to know, what truly is behind the science, how you use it, what your patients are saying about it, and if you've tried it yourself.
Okay, so yes, I've tried it myself. Atlanta treated me at, I think it was the Cosmetic Surgery Forum last year or the year before. And so I bought some, had it sent to my office, and we use it on my facelift patients, on my eyelid patients for bruising, but my staff also used it for our laser patients, and plus they stole it and used it on each other, and then we had, I think, some of the vaginal kits, and
Yes.
and so yeah, it's cool stuff. And
So great use cases pre and post.
Yes, and I use it mostly post, okay, but obviously you can use it pre or post. And the thing about that product, I just do cosmetic facial surgery, but it can be used all over the body, and it has the the CO2 and the carboxy. I can't speak to all the science, but it works. I have a ton of friends that use it.
For sure.
It's cool stuff.
Well, that's great. It's great to know that this is something that you could do at home, or you could do at at your practitioner's office pre and post these treatments. And I'm going to shift a little bit. So, Scale 2024, we've seen a lot of keynotes come into this conference with a lot of research backing up regenerative medicine. I've heard exosomes as buzzwords. I've heard, CO2 technologies going to the next level and ablative laser. Tell me what you're hearing between all these doctors here today. What is the top trend?
Yeah, so regenerative medicine is huge, okay? And this meeting really kind of started off and is still largely a dermatology meeting. And, that specialty is a front runner in minimally invasive treatments. And so I'm a surgeon, okay? I'm making incisions, and if my hands aren't bloody, I'm not doing anything. But so many of my friends and so many of the people here do non-surgical or minimally invasive things, and that is taken off exponentially. And for what I do, somebody may have a facelift once in their life, or they may do it twice. The minimally invasive stuff, I mean, it's these people might do it weekly, and the science on this is improved. I mean, 10 years ago, some of the minimally invasive stuff, it was kind of questionable, but it's the real deal. It's here to stay, and if you're here, you'll learn about it.
Well, I definitely have learned a lot today speaking to experts like yourself. I thank you so much for giving me your time and your expert talk. I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
A Moment of Zen is brought to you by CO2 Lift. As we age, our skin loses moisture and elasticity, causing wrinkled skin. You can reverse this aging process with CO2 Lift. CO2 Lift utilizes the powerful benefits of carbon dioxide to lift, tighten, and regenerate your skin. This simple, painless at-home carboxytherapy treatment is scientifically proven to reverse the aging process. You will see reduction in wrinkles, increase in luminosity, and improve pigmentation, sagging, skin tone, and radiance.
For more information or to order CO2 Lift, ask your skincare professional or go to co2lift.com.
A Moment of Zen is sponsored by FinTech TV.
FinTech TV, the newest streaming channel focused exclusively on the business of blockchain, digital assets, and sustainability. Broadcasting from our studio on the floor of the New York Stock Exchange with daily reports from NASDAQ, global expansion, and 24/7 coverage. Become part of the launch. Head to fintech.tv/invest. Fintech.tv/invest.
Tune in to A Moment of Zen Saturday nights from 9 to 10 p.m. on 710 WOR, the voice of New York.
Well, that's a wrap, my dear friends. Remember to join me right here on 710 WOR, the voice of New York, every Saturday night from 9 to 10 p.m., or you could head to 710WOR.iHeart.com/A Moment of Zen. Also remember that we're live on Traverse TV Sundays at 1 p.m. Eastern. We upload to YouTube at 2 p.m. on Sundays. And of course, all episodes of A Moment of Zen are available on Your Home TV and Kathy Ireland worldwide streaming platform. That's free programming to you. You could head to mox.yourhometv.com. Thank you for listening to A Moment of Zen. It's been an absolute pleasure being your host. Thanks again to all of our sponsors that continue to make the show possible. And remember that happiness is the only thing that multiplies when you share it. We'll see you next week.